This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So in the yesterday's session, we have seen how to create the custom body, how to implement the custom body, how to trigger the custom body from an executable program, and we also discussed how to attach it to the standard transactions. Okay. Now, in continuation to this custom body, let's see one more example. The change I'll do is I'll create a filter dependent body. Custom body creation with what? Filter dependent. Yeah, is my voice is okay and clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Right. So yesterday we understood that what are the new bodies we create from 6.0? They are called as what? Kernel bodies. Okay, and it has to be stored inside what? Enhancement spot. So what we have done yesterday by using the transaction code SC18, we created one enhancement spot, ZCST enhancement spot. Inside this enhancement spot, we created one body definition. This is filter independent body. And for this body, I believe we have created some 4 implementations spread across what? 2 different enhancement implementations. Okay, this is what you have done. Now let us create one more custom body with what? Filter dependent. So the main concept of filter is, generally we know that whenever a body is triggered, SAP will check what are the active implementations for that particular body, and all the active implementations will be executed one after the other. Now, by using these filters, we can control the execution of the active body implementations. Understood? By using these filters, we can control the execution of what? Active body implementations. Means while implementing filter dependent bodies, as part of every implementation, we can provide some filter values. Okay, as part of every body implementation, we can provide some filter values so that whenever a body is triggered, what are the filter values we pass at the time of triggering the body, SAP will check what are the implementations, what are the active implementations which contains these filter values, which are you are passing at the time of triggering the body. Based on that existence of the filter values, the active implementations will be executed. I repeat, in general, whenever a body is triggered, all the active body implementations will be executed one after the other. Now, in case of filter dependent bodies, we must maintain some filter values as part of what? We must maintain some filter values as part of every active body implementations. We can maintain one or more filter values. Then at the time of triggering the body, since it is a filter dependent body, we must pass the filter value. What are the value we pass as part of triggering the body? SAP will check what are the active implementations which satisfies this particular filter values. Based on that, SAP will decide whether to execute that active implementation or ignore that particular active implementation. Okay, so we can control the execution of what? Active body implementations. And based on this filter values, we can also implement the appropriate business logic. What are the filter values we maintain as part of active body implementations? Based on these filter values, we can implement the appropriate business logic. So here also, first we need to create what? Enhancement spot. Directly we cannot create the custom body. we need to create the enhancement spot. Okay, I can use the existing enhancement spot. So yesterday anyways, we have created one enhancement spot. I will use the same enhancement spot to store the another custom body. So I'll open the existing enhancement spot. So I'll go to body definition SE18, SE18, right? So in this SE18, this is the enhancement spot we have created yesterday. Okay, so open that existing enhancement spot, or else you can propose new enhancement spot name here. You can click on create button. So I want to use the existing one, right? So in SC18, I am opening the existing enhancement spot. Obviously, it should be a custom enhancement spot. I'll open this in change mode, right? It has opened that particular enhancement spot. Already this enhancement spot contains what? One body definition, right? So if I expand this body definition, it has got one interface, and this body has got some implementation. So we are not bothered about this body. Let us create one more body. So as part of body definition, what are the components we require? We require body interface, and that interface requires one or more methods, and we need to decide whether it is a single use body or multiple use body. And if it is a filter dependent body, I must provide the filter name. So let me create the body definition. I'll click on the create body button, right? So in the existing enhancement spot, right? In the existing enhancement spot, I'll click on create body, right? I'll click on create body. It is asking the body name. Let me provide the body name as, let us provide it as something ZFLT body. Provide some body name, provide some description. I'll give the description as something custom filter dependent body. Custom filter dependent body. Right. So I gave the name of the body and I gave some description. Continue. So when I continue, yeah, when I continue, so this is your new body definition, ZFLT body. If I expand this, you can see as part of body definition, we have a checkbox what? Multiple use. Let it be multiple use so that I can provide n number of active implementation. If I deselect this, it becomes what? Single use body. I can have only one active implementation at any point of time. So I want multiple use, so I'll go for selecting the checkbox. Then for this body, let us propose the interface name. I'll double click on the interface. Here we have to give the interface name. Already we know the naming convention, right? Already we know the naming convention for the body interfaces. So let me give the name as ZIF underscore EX underscore what? FLT body. So propose the name of the interface. I gave it as ZIF underscore EX underscore FLT body. Done. I'll press enter. So if the interface is not available, it will prompt you to create the interface. I'll just press enter. Interface does not exist. Let us create the object. It has taken the control toward class builder. Okay, so as part of this method, as part of this interface, I'll take a method M1. Let it be instance. And for this method, let me take one parameter. Yesterday, our method doesn't have any parameter. Now let us declare this method with what parameter? Just like subroutines or function models can contain parameters, even the methods also can contain what parameters. So what is my requirement is, I'm going to create this body as what filter dependent body, and for every implementation we have to provide one or more filter values. Based on the filter values, I want to return some tags component. I want to return some tags. So since I want to return the tags which is of type integer, I'll go to parameters. Let me give the parameter name as tags. I'll give the type as I want to return. Let me take it as exporting. Let's see what happens. Exporting type what? I. Right? So I took a parameter by name tags, exporting type I. Done. Save this. Check for the syntax error. Activate the interface. Interface is activated. Next, what I'll do? Okay. Yeah. I want to create this baddie as what? Filter dependent baddie. So if I go back, yeah, let us create this as filter dependent baddie. How do I create? Right click on the baddie definition and say create filter. In order to create a filter dependent baddie, since it is a custom baddie, we must provide the filter properties as part of baddie definition. So right click on the baddie name and say create filter. It is asking the baddie filter name. You can give any name. Okay. So I want to pass country keys as filter values. I want to pass country keys as filter values. So what I'll do is, okay, what I'll do is, let me cancel this first. So I want to create this as a filter dependent body, and we need to decide what is that filter you want to, what is the filter properties you want to create. So I want to pass country keys as input. So we know if you take the table, if you go to ABAP dictionary, SC11, we have the table T00 what? T005 is a table, standard table, which stores all the country keys, right? So in this particular table, we have a field what? Land 1. What is the data element here? Land 1, character of what? 3. The data element is land 1, character of what? 3. So if I go to contents, how many country keys are there? Around 237 country keys are there. So I want to create a filter referring to this particular data element. What is the name of the data element? Land 1. So keeping this field in mind, data element in mind, I'll right click on the body and I'll say create filter, body filter name. Let me give the filter name as something country. You can give any name, any user defined name. I am giving it as what? Country. Any user defined name you can give. Land 1 is what type here? It is of type what? Character. So what I'll do here, I'll choose a filter type. It supports around 4 to 5 data types. I'll go for what? Character type. Character type or string, all both are same. So I'll go for character type. Done. Description. I'll give a description as something country key. Country key. So what I want to refer to that particular data element. So you can see here, filter value check for body implementations. Filter value check for body implementations. So what are the country keys I'm going to provide as part of implementation? I need to enter a valid country keys. So in this particular data element level land one, if I double click, right, if I go to further characteristics, sorry, yeah, land one, sorry, this is the table which stores what? All the country keys. Okay, so if I go to land one, if I double click on the domain, do I require this? Yeah, it is referring to what? Same table, T005. T005 is a table which stores all the country keys. So what are the values I maintain as part of filter, as part of body implementation? that should be valid country keys which are defined in the SAP system. So that is the reason I'll choose the radio button what automatic through dictionary. Just like if you take our basic ABAP programming in module pull programming, we can validate the module pull transactions by using three different validations: automatic field validations, flow logic validations, and module pull validations. Okay, so automatic field validation means it is going to validate the field based on the properties maintained at the screen level or at the database level. So here also automatic through dictionary means to which dictionary object you want to refer. I want to refer to the data element land1. So I'll give the object name as what? Land1. If you want to refer to the domain, you have to give the domain name and you have to select the checkbox what? Object is domain. If I don't select the checkbox here, it will check for a data element with the name what? Land1. So in my SAP system, I am having the data element land1. So, right? So automatic through dictionary means this data element, if you observe here, this data element is associated with the domain what? Land1. Domain name is also same. This domain is having the value table. Na? What is the value table? T005. It is referring to the same table T005. T005 is the table which stores the country keys. Na? How many country keys are there in my server here? 237. So whatever the filter values we maintain as part of our body implementation, that values should be part of this 237 entries. I cannot give whatever you want. If I choose no check, then I can give any filter value whatever you want. If I say, since I said automatic through dictionary, I need to provide the valid country keys which are stored in the table what? T005. So I'm referring to what? A data element what? Land1. So what is the filter name? Country. It is referring to a dictionary object what? Land1. Continue. That's all. Okay, so I've created the custom body with what? Filter. So if you see the yesterday's body, I don't have any filter here. Here I created this body with what? Filter. These are my filter properties. Filter name is country, and this, if I select, if I go to details, it is referring to the data element what? Land1. If I select this checkbox, it will check for a domain with this name. Okay, in this case I can select or I need not select because the data element name and domain name are what? Same. So done. So this is the filter dependent body. Let me save it. Check for the syntax error. It is giving a error for me. Interface cannot be used to see long text. I got some issue here. If I double click on this, okay, let me check for the long text. I'll click on this. What is saying here? Diagnosis. The body is not a single use. Yes, I've selected the checkbox multiple use. That is not a body that can be implemented only once. I can implement any number of times now because it is multiple use body. However, the interface has methods with returning or what? Exporting parameters. I created one method M1 with an exporting parameter. Na? So it is saying that since it is a multiple use body, I cannot have returning or what? Exporting parameter, it seems. Okay. Body has the same name as the interface to answer. System response error. Procedure. Define the body as a body that can be implemented only once. It is asking, since your method is having the exporting parameter, we should create this body as a single use body or remove the methods with returning or exporting parameters from the interface or choose a different interface. So, understood the problem here? Since my body is a multiple use body, it seems that I cannot have the methods with what? Returning or what? Exporting parameters. So what I'll do the adjustment. I'll go back to this interface. For this method M1, instead of taking exporting parameter, let me take it as changing parameter. Changing will act as what? Both import and export. Let me save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate your interface once again. Activate. Interface is activated. Go back. So what is this here? It's a changing parameter. Go back. So I created this body with what? Filter. It is a multiple use body. Let me try to activate the enhancement spot. No errors. Activate the enhancement spot. Done. So what is the understanding here? If your body is a multiple use body, I cannot have the methods with what? Returning or what? Exporting parameter. It is a rule might be. So that's why I have changed it to what? Changing parameter. Done. So any questions up to this point? Right. So we have created the body with what? Filter dependent. Then let me go back. For this body, I need to provide the implementations. No? So I can consider an existing enhancement implementation, or you can go for what? Creating a new enhancement implementation. If you go back to the enhancement spot, for the yesterday's body, for this yesterday's body, we have created 4 body implementations spread across 2 enhancement implementations, ZENH-IMPL1, ZENH-IMPL2. Right? So if you want a fresh enhancement implementation in SC19, you will choose in the create implementation block. You'll choose the radio button new body. What is the enhancement spot you want to implement? ZCST enhancement spot. I'll click on what? Create implementation. I can click on this and I can provide what? New enhancement implementation. Or else, if you want to use the existing enhancement implementation, I can use. So I'll go to existing enhancement implementation. So here, what is this? In SC19, in the edit implementation block, this is my enhancement implementation. What is the existing enhancement implementation? Z enhancement implementation 1 underscore CST enhancement spot. I believe this enhancement implementation already contains 2 body implementations related to our yesterday's body. Right. So it is your wish whether you want to go for new enhancement implementation or existing enhancement. I'm going for existing enhancement implementation. Let us open it in change mode. So this enhancement implementation already contains 2 body implementations related to the body what? ZCST body. Done. Let me provide one more bad implementation, and this bad implementation is related to the filter dependent body. So how do I do it? Click on what? Create bad implementation. Yeah. So this enhancement spot, yesterday it was having only one body. Now today in the same enhancement spot I have created one more body definition. So it is asking which body you want to implement of this particular enhancement spot. So if you browse this, we have 2 baddies here. I'll go for what? ZFLT baddie. Done. And as usual, you have to propose the implementation name. Let me give the implementation name as ZFLT baddie underscore IMPL1. I'll provide the implementation class ZCL underscore IM underscore FLT baddie underscore IMPL1. Provide the short text. I'll provide the short text as something. First implementation. First implementation, continue. Right, class does not exist. You want to create? Yes. Let us save it in the local object. Right? Okay, done. So this is my implementation. Now what I'll do is, before I write the logic, for every this implementation is implementing a filter dependent body. Na? It is implementing what? Filter dependent body. So what I'll do, let me try to provide some filter values. For every implementation, I need to provide one or more filter values. How do I provide the filter values here? Before I implement, I am providing the filter values. I'll right click on this filter value, not coming up. If you double click, yeah, not right click, I think you have to double click. Understood? So don't remember this right click, single click kind of thing. Spend time on the system, then you'll get used to that. So I'll double click on this filter value. It has opened me this screen right hand side. Here we have a button, what? Create filter combination. Make clear. So in order to maintain the filter values, as part of your implementation, double click on the filter value and click on what? Create filter combination. Click on this. Yeah, it has created one combination. Here it has created the empty combination. Here you have to maintain the value. So how do you maintain the value? Just choose this empty combination. Double click on this. Right? If I double click on this, yeah, you'll get a window like this. Here you have to give a value 1. Okay, I'll give the value as let me give a value as something Argentina, or I'll give it as Afghanistan. What is the value I'm giving? Afghanistan. Comparator. I'll give it as what? Equal to. Always give it as equal to. Done. So I maintained what? One filter value. AF. AF indicates what? Afghanistan. Continue. Right. I want to maintain one more filter value. For each bad implementation, I can maintain n number of filter values. How do I maintain the filter value? Another filter value. Again, click on what? Create filter combination. So one more or, either this value or this value. Okay, I'll double click on this empty combination. This time I'll give the value as something. I gave Afghanistan. I'll give it as Argentina. Comparator, give it as equal to. Continue. Right. So I maintained what? Two filter values. Let me maintain one more filter combination. I'll click on create filter combination. Empty combination got created. Done. I'll give the value as Afghanistan, Argentina, and I'll give Australia. I'll say equal to. Continue. Right. So what I did here for this implementation, I maintained what? Three filter values: Afghanistan, Argentina, and what? Australia. Right. Now, based on this filter values, I can implement the business logic. So, how do I implement same navigations? What we have done yesterday. So, I'll double click on the implementing class. Right. Which method you want to implement? Method M1. Double click on this. I'll just give some text. First implementation of method what? M1. Yeah, this method has got a changing parameter, na? Tags. Changing will act as both import and export. And for this implementation, I provided some three filter values, na? But can I cross check it here? Can I use it here? One second. Okay, let me, okay, here I'll say tax equal to I'll say something 10. Okay, what is the value I'm giving? Tax equal to 10. I'm directly hard coding the value. If you don't want to hard code, you declare some work area, internal table, write some select query like that. You retrieve the appropriate data. Okay, let me save it. Check for the syntax error. 3-digit number, sorry. Type what? I information message. Save it. Check for the syntax error, no errors. Activate this. Done. It is activated. Okay, I'll go back. Yeah. So this first baddie implementation has got three filter values, and I wrote what? Some logic in my implementation. What is that? I am returning the tax value as what? Something what? 10. Tax value as 10. Done. Just want to cross check something here. 1 second. Yeah, if you observe this here description, see what it is saying here, execution depends on what? Runtime filter values. So generally what we know, if the implementation is active, that implementation should get executed. No? But here it is saying that the execution depends upon what? Runtime filter values. Right. So we have done with what? One implementation, one baddie implementation. Check for the syntax, activate this. I want to provide one more implementation. Let me provide the second implementation also in the same enhancement implementation. So in the existing enhancement implementation, I'll click on what? Create baddie implementation. Provide the baddie definition. Which baddie you want to implement? ZFLT baddie, same navigation. Let us provide the implementation. ZFLT baddie underscore IMPL2. Propose the class ZCL underscore IM underscore FLT baddie underscore IMPL2. Provide the description. I'll say something second baddie implementation. Done. Continue. Class does not exist. Yeah. Okay. So if you expand this, this is my second baddie implementation. Here also I'll maintain some filter values. As of now, if I double click, I don't have. So I'll click on what create filter combination. Let me provide the combination here. I'll double click on this. Value, give it as equal to, sorry, value I'll give it as, so in the first implementation, we have what? Afghanistan, Australia, and what? Argentina. Now in the second implementation, let me give the value as something Belgium, right? I'll say equal to. Continue. Okay. This is one value. I'll maintain another value. Click on create filter combination. I'll double click on this. I'll say the value as something. I give Belgium. Let me give Brazil. Belgium and what? Brazil. I'll say equal to. Continue. So I maintain what? What? Two values here. That's all. Let me double click on the implementing class. Implement the method. I'll provide some message. Second implementation. Second implementation for method what? M1. Type what? I. Here I'll say tax equal to something 20. Save it. Check for the syntax. Activate this. Done. It will be activated. Go back. Better we activate the implementation class. In the first implementation also, let me activate the implementation class. Right. So in the second implementation, what are the filter values? Something Belgium and what? Brazil. Okay, done. Let me provide one more implementation. Right. I'll provide one more implementation. So what I'll do here, one more implementation. Na? Okay. Let me provide the third implementation also within the same enhancement implementation. I'll click on create baddie implementation. Which baddie definition? ZFLT baddie. Implementation name, I'll give it as ZFLT baddie underscore IMPL3. Propose the class IMPL3. Provide the description. Third implementation. does not exist, right? So for this third implementation, let me provide the filter values. Okay, I'll double click on this filter value. What are the filter values in the first implementation? Something Afghanistan, Argentina, and Australia. Okay. Second implementation is what Belgium and what Brazil. Right. I'll click on what create filter combination. I'll double click on this. Here, let me maintain the value as Argentina. Here also I'm maintaining what Argentina. I'll say equal to continue. Okay. I'll maintain another filter value equal to. Okay, so what are the filter values here? Argentina and India. Remember, this Argentina is also there in what? First implementation. Done. Argentina, India. Fine. Next, I'll provide the implementation class. Yeah, I'll provide the implementation. Third implementation for method what? M1 type I. I'll give the tax as something 30. Okay, I'll give the tax as 30. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Right, it is activated. I'll go back, activate the implementation class, then activate it, go back, activate your all enhancement implementation. Yeah, it is activated. Okay, so if you go back to SC18 in this enhancement spot, for this baddie, second baddie, we have what three implementations. IMPL1, IMPL2, IMP3, they are stored in the same enhancement implementations, right? So what are the filter values for the first implementations? Afghanistan, Argentina, Australia. For the second one, it is Belgium and Brazil. For the third one, it is Argentina and India. Remember this. Okay. Now what I'll do is, yeah, any questions so far before I continue? So Argentina is there in both first implementation as well as the third implementation. Okay. Now what I'll do is, as part of BADI definition, we can provide a default implementation. There is something called as fallback class. As part of that fallback class, we can provide some default implementation at the BADI definition level. So if you go to SC18, right, in this enhancement spot, if I open it in change mode, as part of this BADI definition, you can see there is a checkbox here, call fallback if no implementation is executed. Okay, I'll do one thing. As of now, I will not create the fallback class. Okay, let me activate this. I'll not create any fallback class here. Fine. There is no fallback class available. So we have done with what? Three implementations. Let us try to trigger the body. So I'll trigger it from an executable program. I'll go to SC38. So remember, this body has got three implementations, and all the three implementations are what? Active, right? If you for this body, all the three implementations are what? Active on implementation is called called. All are what? Active. So I'll go to SC38. I'll give the name as something z trigger underscore. I'll say something FLT body. So since it is a custom body, we need to trigger filter dependent body. Type of program is what? executable program. Right. So see the what is the steps I told yesterday? How do you trigger the body? Yes, anyone? How do you trigger the body? What is the procedure? Anyone? Yesterday we have discussed that. How do you trigger the body? Yesterday I told you the procedure. I have not shared the material, but all of you attended the live session and also I have shared the recording also. How do you trigger the custom body? Yes, anyone? We have to declare the reference for what? Body definition. So I'll say data, some reference name. I'll get as OB, type ref2, type ref2. What is the body name? ZFLT body. So declare the reference. This is called as what? Body reference. Okay, then what you have to do? We have to convert that reference to what? Object. How do you convert? You'll say get body so and so. Okay, so observe here, get body OB. This is what we have done yesterday also. But yesterday our body is filter independent, but this body is what? Filter dependent. So observe here. So this get body statement will try to create the object internally, body class object we call it as. So when I try to do syntax check, good. I got an error here. What is that? Filters addition is required for baddies with filters. This baddie is created as a filter dependent. No? So it is saying that you must pass the filter value at the time of triggering the filter dependent baddie. So it is giving me what? Yes, syntax error. So how do I do it now? Get baddie OB. I have to use what? Filters addition. Filters. What is the filter name in our body level? Country. Country equal to directly hardcode the value or you read it from the user. Okay, I'll read it from the user. I'll say parameters p underscore what? Country type T005 hyphen land one. I'll refer to that field. Okay, country equal to what is that? P underscore country. Understood. I'm reading the country from the user. I'm passing that particular country value at the time of creating the body class object. Next, we have to call the method. What is the signature of the method? It is having one changing parameter. Na? Changing while calling remains what? Changing. So I'll say, how do you call the body method? Yesterday we have seen. Call body OB of M1. If I leave it like this, when I do syntax check, I got an error. The obligatory parameter tags, I had no value assigned to it. This body is created with what? Is created with what? A method with one changing parameter na tags which is mandatory. So this is giving me what? Syntax error. Okay, so I need to pass the value for the changing parameter because it is a mandatory parameter. Call body OB of M1. I'll say changing. What is the parameter name? We know tax equal to. It is going to return the integer. Na? So I'll receive the tax. Data v underscore tax type what? I. Okay, tax equal to what? V underscore tax. Okay, so I'll set here I'll set tax for the country P underscore CTRY is is that particular variable V underscore tax. So I'm just printing the tax. That's all. I'm just printing the tax. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. So observe this carefully. Very simple. I'm reading the country as an input, and while creating the body class objects, we have to pass the filter value by using the addition what? Filters. What is the filter name? Country. I'm passing the appropriate country key. So how many active implementations are there for our body? 3. Let's see which implementation it will call. So when I execute, Observe this carefully. I'll browse this. I'll give something Australia. Australia is part of this filter value is part of which implementation? First implementation. Na? So when I execute, good, I got what? First implementation of the method M1 and I got the tax as what? 10. Working fine. I'll browse this. I'll give something Belgium. It is part of the second implementation. Na? When I execute this, second implementation only I got the taxes were 20. Okay, I'll browse this. I'll give what? India. India is part of which implementation? Third one. Right, I'll give India. I got what? Third implementation for the method M1. Done. I'll give Argentina. Argentina is part of first and first and third, I think. First and third. So first one is returning 10. Third one is returning 30. Na? I think 30, right? So if I choose Argentina, observe this carefully. Execute. What happened here? I got that message from there and I got that third implementation. What is the last value? 30 only. Na? Actually, first implementation gets executed, returns what? 10. And what is the last implementation? Third one. It will override that 10 with what? 30. But what you have to understand is it is executing what? Both the implementations. Am I clear? Suppose I'll pass Bangladesh. I'll pass Bangladesh. This Bangladesh doesn't match with any of the implementations. No? So when I execute, what is happening? Tax for the country Bangladesh. I didn't got any message. It is returning the default value. What is that? 0. So what is happening here? At the time of triggering the body, depending on the filter value, SAP is deciding which implementations it has to execute. If the filter value passed is not matching with any of the active implementations, what is happening? None of the implementations is getting what? Executed. So what I can do in this case is, as part of the body definition, we can provide implementation as part of fallback class. That is nothing but the default implementation. This fallback class implementation gets executed when none of the active implementation gets what? Executed. See here? So I'll go to SC18 as part of my enhancement spot. As part of our body definition, we have a checkbox what? Call fallback if no implementation is what? Executed. Am I clear? So I'll select the checkbox, call fallback if no implementation is what? Executed. Here we need to propose a fallback class name. Understood? We need to propose the fallback class name. So I'll give the name of the fallback class as something z fallback underscore flt baddie underscore impl. Some name I'll give. What is that? Z fallback underscore flt baddie underscore impl. Where you have to do it as part of definition only. Press enter. It is saying that the class does not exist. Do you want to create? Yes. Yeah. Let us save this fallback class in the local object. Yeah. Create the fallback class as implementation example also. If you say yes or no, doesn't matter. If I say yes, it will show this fallback class as implementation here. That is the only purpose. So I'll say either yes or no. If I say yes, this fallback class will be shown as the example implementation class only for documentation purpose. So I'll say yes here. Yes. Yeah. I'll double click on the method. Okay, here I'll provide the implementation. So what I'll do here, message, what? Fallback class implementation for what? For method M1. Type what? I, and I'll say if you want to return, you can return tax equal to, I'll say something unread. Save it, check for the syntax, activate everything. activate your fallback class, go back, activate your enhancement spot. So since I created the fallback class implementation example, it will appear here. You can see it is appearing here only for documentation, otherwise nothing is there. Done. Okay, so what is happening here? Our filter dependent body is having what? Fallback class implementation also. So when this fallback class implementation gets executed, when none of the active implementations gets what? Executed. Suppose here when I execute, I'll give India. India is there part of third implementation, I think. So I got the third implementation, I got the tax. Okay. I'll give Argentina, which is part of first one and what? Third one. So when I execute, I got first implementation as well as the third implementation done. Okay. And I'll browse and I'll give some value. Let me give it as something Austria. Austria is not part of any of the active implementation. So SAP will execute what now? The fallback class implementation. So when I execute, I got what? Fallback class implementation and I got that particular tax value. So what is the overall understanding? In general, whenever a body is triggered, all the active implementations are executed one after the other. In case of filter dependent bodies, we must provide the filter values at the time of trigger in the body. We provided here. So depending on this filter value, SAP will check what are the active implementation which matches this particular filter value. Okay, only those implementation gets executed, which are is matching. If none of the implementations gets executed, what happens? If none of the gets executed, SAP will check whether we have any fallback class implementation. If you have fallback class implementation, that gets what? Executed. That's all. This is the concept of filter dependent badges in case of custom badge. In the next session, we'll take a standard body which is filter dependent. So in case of standard body with filter dependent, the filter is already provided by SAP itself. When you are implementing, we must maintain what? Some filter values as part of every implementation. Then at the time of trigger in the body, depending on the filter value that we supply, SAP will decide which implementation it has to execute. Yeah, any questions? No questions? Okay, so I'll stop for today. Tomorrow we'll see standard filter dependent body. I'll try to share the recording by afternoon. If possible, I'll share the material also by afternoon, yesterday's and today's material, but refer to the recording first, then practice. Okay, chalo then. So I'll wind off. We'll meet tomorrow.